Get connected, Fitchburg. We're launching Fitchburg Connect, the city's new monthly e-newsletter that keeps you informed about all the events, services, and updates that matter to you. Get it in your inbox once a month. Our first edition is live now. Sign up today to get Fitchburg Connect.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're your hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every weekday, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can find all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues affecting you and your neighbors.
There we go. I'd like to call this meeting to order for Ag and Rural Affairs Committee meeting April 19th, 2026. I'd like to start out with approval of the minutes of the April 21, 2026. Do I hear an approval?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved. Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Carried. Public appearances for non-agenda items. I don't see anybody here, so we'll proceed. We will now go to a agenda review, and I'd ask Deanna to break in on that.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Deanna Schmidt. I am the city planner. With me this evening is Brad Sipple from the planning department. Also, we're going to be kind of tag teaming this meeting. You might notice that there's in our email from Friday, there's some special timing for this evening. So this room is scheduled for Plan Commission at 5 p.m. this evening. There's some special timing going on in order to manage some special meetings with Plan Commission and Council. So what that means is I, first of all, encourage everyone to be very careful and deliberate in our discussions, and there's no need to rush through. We do have a long agenda for us this evening. But I do want to just bring out that 5 o'clock, that 5 p.m. timeline. Our wonderful FACTv team has suggested that if we need to go over that timeline, if we need to go past 5 p.m., what we could do is recess for 5 minutes and then regroup in the Jeannie Seelig room, but we'll just kind of play it by ear. Another option, if we just don't get quite through all of the agenda items on our list, we can always do a postponement and a delay to the next month also. So I just want to keep that in front of us in terms of our timeline. We need to be very deliberate and careful in our consideration of each agenda item. We have some backup plans, but just let me know if you have any questions.
Okay, we'll proceed. First item we have on the agenda is a certified survey map, CS 2442-26. That's a certified survey map for Mark Jones to approve a certified survey map in order to create 2 lots from one existing lot on the property associated with 2266 South Cyene Road. Okay, with that in mind, do we have a discussion about that?
I could do the memo, the staff memo, if you wish, and I can just do a bit of an introduction for us on what the project is and what's happening here. First of all, thank you, FACTv. This is the Jones Farm right here on South Cyene. This is the I get my bearings, Old Indian Trail. So you can kind of, and then Creek Court is up here. So just to kind of get you situated, what is proposed by this CSM and rezone is to cut out a single-family residential lot, approximately 1 acre, at this location. I don't know if you can kind of see it, my cursor. So the rezone is to allow that new parcel to be zoned a low-density residential. This is being done with the rural residential development criteria. The applicant intends to move the existing single-family ranch house located at the Newcomb property, which was the Anna O'Brien farm, to this site. So it's the house that is located right now at the roundabout of Lacey and Seminole, and the applicant would relocate that house to this new site. The required criteria under the rural residential development criteria is compatibility with adjacent farm operations, environmentally sensitive areas, so building outside of environmentally sensitive areas. The lot shape should be approximately 2-to-1, no impact, and then limited impact to woodland cover, and then heritage trees protection. So there are, in this particular situation, the proposal does meet the requirements for the required criteria. Staff believes it's not going to be a significant impact to adjacent farm operations, that there's no wetlands or environmentally sensitive areas that are impacted. The lot shape is approximately 2-to-1, and there's no woodland or heritage trees protection. In terms of the RRDC criteria that may be waived, there is some history of tillage because the area for the new lot is currently tilled, so that would be a RRDC criteria that would be waived. This is residential infill, so the new home is located within 300 feet from existing residential buildings. The lot size is 1 acre, so it does meet the 1.5 acres or less, and there is no steep slopes that are impacted by this. Staff does note that this site is located within the Greenfield Neighborhood Plan, which was recently adopted. And this area is designated in the Greenfield Neighborhood Plan as agrihood. Agrihood, that in that future land use, is tended to preserve and protect large tracts of farmland and cluster development appropriately. More specifically, the following are recommended for agrihood: preservation of natural resources, open space preservation of 60 to 70% of the land area, and housing density of preferred single-family and 1/4 acre lots and interconnected trail network, and then to facilitate the community engagement. So that's the intent of the agrihood. In this particular situation, staff does not believe that this residential lot is inhibiting future development of agrihood. Staff believes that this is a reasonable use of a claim, which this farm does have this one claim to use towards the RRDC. So staff does recommend approval of the certified survey map and the rezone, and I am happy to answer any questions that I can. And I guess I didn't bring up the actual.
Yeah, excuse me. I have a question on the location of that. Could you?
Yeah.
I was just curious for clarification where that would be on that rezone.
Here, I'm sorry, I neglected to. Let me go grab the CSM.
Right on the mountains there?
The mountains? No mountains in this general vicinity. We'll have to hold off for the mountains at another day. But let me just go grab the CSM here. So there's a farm buildings, and then this new lot would be
Oh,
sitting up
okay.
here. Does that make sense?
I guess I did see that. That is in the packet, correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I did review that. So they would have to put in probably a foundation and basement.
Well, I would
So I mean, this
assume-
is going to take some time, but
Yes.
things happen fast with construction. I know.
Mm-hmm.
Just curious. That's all.
Any other questions? Maybe you might quickly, just real quick.
Yeah, of course.
The idea that you got this agri-hood land deal, how, make sure that we all understand, I think I do, but we all understand the agri-hood, where it originated, why it originated, and how it relates to the RRDC.
Well, Brad, maybe you talk a little bit about agri-hood, and then I can kind of contrast that with the RRDC.
I mention that because this may come up again.
Yeah, so the agri-hood was developed as a way to kind of preserve some sections of farmland within the Greenfield neighborhood, despite it being a future urban development area. So the idea was to, when there is, I guess the assumption is that it would be a development on city sewer and water. So when there is sewer and water available, that those areas, the agri-hood future land use could develop with a clustered residential homes, and then preserve, I think it was 60 to 70% of the area as farmland. How exactly that's implemented, that wasn't addressed in the plan. That was something for us to figure out when the time comes. But I think the unique situation here now is that sewer and water is available, but sewer is not here, so the lot has to be over an acre in order to do its own septic. So I'll let Deanna talk more about the RRDC and how that.
Yeah. Yeah. So the rural residential development criteria, also known as the RRDC, has been with Fitchburg for a very long time, and it comes out of an agreement with the farming community to allow some development, some single-family development, but still maintain the preservation of farmland. And so each farm, each base farm was allocated a claim or a split under the rural residential development criteria to build one single-family home per each 35 acres. So per each 35 acres of each base farm, they got one residential home. Sometimes we use the term split or claim for that residential home. And then each farm within a future urban development area could actually use one of those. And outside of a future urban development area, they could use two. So even if a farm outside of a future urban development area had 6 single-family residential claims or splits, to build a single-family residential home, they could only use 2 of them, and the remaining 4 would be used towards a cluster development. Fitchburg hasn't done a cluster development at this time. So I think where it's important to recognize is that the agri-hood policies and programs are part of our future development and our future land use, and it's helping to guide future development. The rural residential development criteria is a long-term agreement with our farming community, is the best way I can do it, way to put it. It's a long-term agreement to allow flexibility to the farmland, the farming community. Is that how you would say?
Yeah.
Okay.
Very good. Any other questions on this subject before we move on?
Well, that being that's close to the Greenfield development, that's where you label it as infill. You know, I guess that's the edge of development right there.
It is, yeah.
Any other questions?
Were there acreage criteria for the agri-hood? Didn't we talk about that being like 3 or 10 acres, or were we talking about a separate thing? That
I
might
don't.
have been a concept.
I don't really. I mean, we haven't brought the agri-hood into a zoning. So I don't know if I'm not sure, Brad, if the Greenfield neighborhood got that specific about the size.
I don't think it did. I'm trying to look right now, but it's not loading for me. So
Okay. We might have to check on that for you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Do I hear a motion to ratify Certified Survey Map C S 2642-26?
I can move to approve CSM CS 264226.
Second.
Any further discussion at this time? All those in favor of certified survey map approval?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved. Looking for a second on the rezone of the R 2643-26 for approval.
I'll second that.
Second.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you, Adam.
Yeah.
And then and George will give us a second.
You got a
Thank
second?
you.
Any discussion at this time? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, that takes care of Mark Jones. We're now looking at certified survey map CS 264426, a request by Patrick Kane and Amy Johannan to approve a certified survey map in order to create 2 lots from one existing lot on a property of 2105 Kane Road. And she is asked to leave because this is her request.
Yep. So
So we would now discuss this.
I'll go ahead and give my staff memo comments. So yes, Amy and her uncle Pat Kane own this land. The land stretches from Fish Hatchery Road all the way over here to Kane Road. And so this is the parcel that I've highlighted here in the cyan color that is being subdivided. And I'm just going to go and grab that for us. This property is currently zoned AX, so exclusive agriculture. And they're looking to subdivide the parcel into 2 lots. Amy would retain lot 2, and lot 1 would be sold to the neighbors. Because the proposed lot 2 is smaller than 35 acres, which is the minimum acreage required for AX zoning, it's actually just over 30 acres. It needs to be rezoned to AS. The owner of lot 2 would intend to utilize the new AS zoning, small lot A, to allow the construction of a caretaker's residence on that property. Both the proposed lots are intended to remain in farmland and woodland use, so there's no proposed change of use other than Amy is proposing to build a caretaker's residence with the horse barn on that site. The proposal meets the lot size, public street frontages, and setback requirements of both the zoning districts AZ, AX, and AS. The property owners are required to dedicate some right-of-way along Kane and Fish Hatchery. That's pretty common when we do these CSMs. There's a dedication required. These lands are currently wooded, and farm equipment does access the fields from Fish Hatchery. So there has been some discussion about the tail. If you might have noticed that. I call it the tail. That is currently wooded and not accessible, but the property owners wish to retain that tail in the event in the future that farm equipment would need to take access to those fields via that tail. Right now, you can see that farm equipment's taking access through the neighbor's property here, which is owned by Fish and Wildlife, U.S. Fish and Wildlife. If at some point U.S. Fish and Wildlife said, you're not going to be able to take access across our lands any longer, then they would need to clear those trees to access the fields from that direction. But I will note that the new proposed lot also has access here, but of course that's the wooded area. So I'll just go back and, wrong one. Just go back and grab that. So this area is all wooded right now of lot 1. The proposal would rezone approximately 30 acres out of AX exclusive ag zoning to AS small lot. Wisconsin statutes have some pretty specific conditions that need to be met for rezoning out of exclusive agriculture. The land is better suited for the use. The rezoning is consistent with the city's comprehensive plan. The rezoning is substantially consistent with county certified farmland preservation plan, and the rezoning will not impair or limit current or future agricultural use of surrounding parcels. So in this case, there's no change in the existing land uses. It's just to subdivide a larger property into 2 lots and sell lot 1 to the neighbors. So staff does recommend approval of both the CSM and the rezone, and I am happy to answer any questions that I can.
Yeah, I have one question on that access off of Fish Hatchery. Is that just being used like as an easement right now? That's...
Staff did ask Amy and Pat about whether or not they have an easement. There does not seem to be a documented easement at this time.
Okay, so going forward, that's where it's showing the flag lot or the...
Yeah, we're not changing the lot. We're not changing the shape of these of the overall lot. All we're doing is cutting out this piece, pretty much this piece for a separate lot.
Okay.
So the overall boundaries of this is not changing with this CSM. We're just cutting it into 2 different pieces is what we're doing.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have further discussion about the access.
Sure.
I guess I will preface with, I disagree that we should allow the division of land reliant on a non-existent easement across state-owned lands. I mean, you can't take an easement against the state, so there's no ability to claim a prescriptive right. They would have to apply for that and be granted that from the state. Mm-hmm. It does appear, however, and I don't know about the access through the neighbor's woods, but there is sufficient space and an existing access point on the south line of Lot 2, and my recommendation would be for Lot 2 to grant Lot 1 a 60 or 66-foot wide access easement across the southern boundary of Lot 2, so they have perpetual equipment access to the agricultural portions of Lot 1. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a driveway there.
Yeah, I think they technically do have access. They just have to remove the trees.
And we want that?
No, I don't think that I could say that we want that, but yeah, and I think these divisions predated all of us. I don't know how this was done or why this was done the way that it was done, but.
Is that where ag equipment comes in, or is that just a hiking path for that?
There's nothing there now.
There's a parking area, and
Yeah.
and wildlife.
Amy has indicated that this is where the egg equipment comes in,
It does look like it.
and that they prefer access off of Fish just because it's a bigger, wider road.
So she owns that piece, that strip.
Yeah, the strip is all, they have ownership
Yeah.
of that strip. But right now, it's got trees on it. So there seems to be somewhat of a handshake with U.S. Fish and Wildlife and said, well, we don't want you to cut down all those trees, so just drive across our land.
I think if we approve the CSM as is, then it would be conditioned on U.S. Fish and Wildlife acknowledging that that's a permitted use. I just think they don't know about it. And if they do know about it, that's great. But then the CSM can reflect that.
Or the 60-foot easement on Lot 2.
Yeah.
I guess that's your guys' call.
Or whatever access is deemed appropriate. I mean, I don't know. Pretty big equipment goes through there, but whatever 30 feet might be sufficient. It's not a thoroughfare or you won't have bi-directional traffic there. Is there a fire department for any reason? Emergency vehicle access concern? I wouldn't think so.
There's no buildings.
Is that's where that pivots on is buildings?
Yeah.
So are you saying that right now, the access, if they didn't take the road from Fish Hatchery, the access off of Kane would be on, the existing one would be on Lot 1 or Lot 2?
Lot 2,
So it's on Lot 2,
Amy's property where her house is.
right, but Amy's moving to Lot 1.
No, she's not moving.
I mean, she's not moving. Oh, her house is on Lot 2.
Yeah,
Her house is Lot 2 here,
Oh,
not in the CSM.
right. Oh, not in this, okay. I'm trying to figure out if this is, well, sounds like a good idea Adam has, if it's necessary to modify the CSM in order to approve it, because that's what I'm trying to figure out, what the other access is other than on Fish Hatchery.
If you were to look at a Google Street View or something, at the right, you know where the access is, Deanna? Can you point to it? No, the
Over here.
yeah. Right there's a driveway.
There
You
is.
can
You
see
can see
it.
there's a drive in here.
There's a driveway and an access point, and my only concern is that we shouldn't approve a CSM that burdens a landowner that is not part of the CSM or relies upon a burden from a landowner that's not part of the CSM. When we have the opportunity to say, here's legal access. The state of Wisconsin and the federal government aren't quite like residential landowners in that in time, if a person can prove that they've had and been using access consistently against another property owner's wishes, or there's lots of criteria, but that access point from Fish Hatchery Road, if that were privately owned, a prescriptive easement can be claimed. Because it's state or federal owned, you can't do that. They could just stop that, and then now you've got unaccessible agricultural land. To remedy that, in this case, Lot 2 has the ability to grant an easement for agricultural access. I mean, you can restrict it as far as you want, but for agricultural access to the owner of Lot 1 or their tenants. And it just only seems fair to me, regardless of the ownership status of the lands to the west along Fish Hatchery, that the burden be contained within the division of land.
I guess I would have a question on that. Like, do we place conditions on people in this case when they have the? I think that would all make total sense if this little flag to fish hatchery didn't exist.
Right.
Because with that existing, then the way I see this, we're telling them that they have to do something else when they theoretically, it's their land, they could chop all those, we don't want them to, but they could chop all those trees down and make a road and access that land. And so like, why do we ever put conditions on people and say you have to do something else because we don't want you to do this solution? It doesn't seem like that's...
Amy, we've got a question about that right away that you have ownership off a fish hatchery, that
Okay.
long, narrow strip.
Yeah.
And if you could give us a little idea of your reasoning on that and how that is, how you've got that in the CSM
Yeah.
and whether or not there might be an alternative to it.
Okay, yeah, so I'll just give you a little bit of background. So when my grandparents purchased that property, that was designed to be a driveway for, or an access point for farm equipment. But upon discussion with U.S. Fish and Wildlife and my grandfather and my uncle, who, my uncle isn't in the room, unfortunately, to attest to the conversations, but in lieu of removing all those trees and cutting them down and creating a driveway for the farm equipment, they had it's a verbal agreement. They had a verbal agreement that they could just use the U.S. Fish and Wildlife, the area, because they didn't want the trees removed so that the wildlife wasn't impacted. So at that point, we just didn't create a driveway. We didn't use it, and I'd hate to, unless we absolutely had to, but if we had to, it's there for that reason, to be able to access. Does that answer the question? I was at the opposite end of the hallway, so I have no idea what I stepped into.
That does answer the question, I believe. But I guess it was my concern that that strip provides access right now, but not in a...
If U.S. Fish and Wildlife contacted and said, don't drive across our property, we would be forced to remove trees and enter that way. We can't enter off the driveway on Kane Road, unfortunately, because someone, me, built horse pastures much too near the driveway access point for any machinery that's present day use. So we couldn't get large equipment through there without taking down my horse pastures, which I'm not going to do.
Okay, that answers an important question because we were wondering about that.
Yeah, so hopefully U.S. Fish and Wildlife is fine with us passing by there. It'd be twice a year, essentially one time planting, one time harvesting, possibly a third time if they fertilize. But it's so infrequent that big equipment is accessing those backfields. I feel like I ride back there all the time, and there's you can't even detect any damage or you can't even tell any equipment has even passed through that area. Obviously, farmers aren't driving across wet field. I mean, they're responsibly doing these passes.
Okay. Does that answer what you were wanting?
Unfortunately, it does. I mean, I guess I maintain that legal access exists. There's no question about that. But functional access and the dependency on a non-involved landowner, especially one being a government entity, I think it should be conditioned on either one of three things. An access easement being legitimized across the Fish and Wildlife property, an access easement across the south line of future Lot 2, which is undoable, undesirable, and or the clearing of the trees to create a permanent access path. Fish and Wildlife needs to acknowledge that they consent to that.
We tried contacting Fish and Wildlife. I'm guessing, I shouldn't say I'm sure, The people at the time, including my grandparents that had these conversations, are passed on probably. And, these types of things were done long before I was here even. So, but we did try reaching out and nobody got back to us. So, but my uncle did say he has had more recent day or present day conversations with U.S. Fish and Wildlife because, obviously they're using that access point a couple of times a year. And so we want, in an effort to not make any enemies, so he has had, and he has someone's name there that he's talked with about this access. And they have been completely, actually so much so, asking us to please continue to use that path instead of removing those trees because it's kind of going against their plan of preserving that area. So it makes perfect sense to me. I hope that we don't have to ever remove those trees, but if we have to, we will. Obviously it can be done because that's why that strip was purchased all the way out there by my grandparents.
Yeah. Excuse me. I would say that you're doing everything the right way. If Pat's been contacting them,
He has. Yep. He's been in communication with someone out there.
Have that documentation for whatever happens down the road in the future. But it looks like that's not really in the wetland. The grade there is
it's a good spot.
The northern edge of anything wet.
Yep.
So I don't think you're doing any kind of damage whatsoever.
No, there's no evidence. There's no evidence at all of even a tractor mark or anything, and they just planted. So.
Okay. Any further discussion on that? I think this agreement that you've had with them for years means an awful lot. Although with government, it can change overnight.
Sure, certainly,
and
certainly.
Quite frankly, if way I see it is that tree line is a backup.
We're very fortunate. We're very fortunate to have that. However, I really hope that those don't ever have to be removed because I'm planting the trees. I'm definitely not removing any. So,
but it's a backup.
It's a backup. It's there if we need it. It's wonderful that we have it. So I'm pleased that my grandparents or whoever they purchased it from had really planned ahead appropriately.
Okay.
So.
Well, if you're happy with this verbal agreement.
Yeah.
Knowing that it might be on quicksand someday.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yep.
Then in my mind, I think that's okay.
Yeah. I think we have a good agreement and then a good backup plan.
Okay.
So.
Any further discussion? Okay.
Do I need to leave, Roger?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
See ya.
Thank you, Amy.
Any further discussion?
I think that the verbal agreement needs to be illustrated in some fashion, either evidence of that to us or that the CSM reflect that an owner testimony of a verbal agreement exists there by prescriptive easement in prescriptive nature. The CSM certainly can reflect that, but I don't like what we're doing.
I guess my question is if there was nothing in this documentation about them accessing via Fish and Wildlife, would we be even asking this question? Like, is that something that is part of this decision if that information wasn't included? If they just came to us and we said we wanted to divide this land, one of them's going to be small lot, one of them's going to be AX, they want to move forward by themselves.
I think I have your answer to your question. Yeah, it's legally by our code and state code fine because the lots have adequate access to that. The new lot has adequate access to public right of way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll move approval of CSM CS 2644-26.
Second.
Have approval in a second. Any last minute discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? carried. That is for the certified survey map. Again, looking for a motion.
I'll move approval of rezone RZ 2645-26.
Second.
Have approval and a second. All those in favor indicated by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay. Our next business is with a, if you would, Deanna, if you would give us the details on it.
I certainly would. This is a bit of an unusual one for us. I'm calling it a rural residential siting, and I felt it important to bring this to Ag and Rural and also Plan Commission, just so that everyone is aware, and it's a very public process of what's happening. The existing use of this property, and the property in question is right here. This is Wayland Road. Kathleen is up here. There's a neighborhood. If I extend up a little bit here, Irish Lane is to the north here. So the parcel in question is approximately, well, it is 20 acres. This is Fish Hatch. That's the City Public Works Department right there, so you can kind of orientate yourself. The current future land use is rural residential, and the current zoning is rural residential. So this is a proposal to build a barn, and also right now there is no structures on the property. I do not have any record of structures on the property, but the proposal is to build a barn and eventually a house on the property. The property owner has worked closely with Public Works to determine where the best location for the driveway. Because Wayland Road is in our long-term planning considered to be a more important right-of-way, our Public Works team is looking to reduce additional driveways where possible along Wayland Road. So the property owner will take access off of Kathleen, and then their proposal is to build a barn and a house, eventually a septic system and a well in this location. So I felt it important to bring it to you all, just so that you can see what's happening and why. Right now, this area is currently farmed. I'm going to go just grab some of the supporting document here so you can kind of see that general driveway location. So the would come off of Kathleen, turn around, and then in that kind of clearing area where it's not farmed is where the house would set. So we're handling it as a residential siting and then kind of as an ADR. So staff does recommend approval with a couple of conditions just so that there's some future understanding of what's happening. This does not have to use a rural residential development criteria. This is not part of an original base farm. So there are no rural residential development criteria. And because it is currently zoned, we're not doing any zoning changes. It is currently zoned for rural residential. They can build a house. Any questions for me?
Go ahead.
At this time, there's no claims that would be used?
There are no claims. Yeah, there are no claims. And because we're not dealing with a base farm, this is not part of a base farm, and it is already zoned rural residential. It's not zoned AX.
It's a no-brainer.
But I think it's just important to bring it to you all so everyone knows what's happening here. It's there's not a lot of parcels outside of the urban service area that are like this. There's a handful, and so because it's rural residential, they do not need to use a claim.
Yeah, a question about that. So then how does that work if they want to build a barn? Is everything just on that rural residential lot then?
Yeah, well, rural residential permits agricultural uses and single-family residential.
Okay.
That's the two primary permitted uses in rural residential.
Okay, makes sense.
The thing that's important is, and it's mentioned in the recommendations, is a 20-foot width driveway for fire protection, and I think it looks like there might even be a bump out there.
Yep.
But you know, I would hope that and I'm sure the owner will realize that it's important to be able to, for their sake, to have that driveway at a level to where they can get into two parcels for farming, because it does split up that.
Does split up.
It splits. There'll be two separate agricultural farming pieces on that. So, but that would be something that they would have to do because they're dealing with a renter. But other than that, I think this is pretty straightforward. Okay.
Is it being farmed?
Pardon?
It's not being farmed, is it? Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This is? Oh, okay.
Yeah, this part I don't think has
No.
been farmed, and I don't know if this was
No.
part of the original farm this way, but it's not part of one of our base farms.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Because it's actually in my neighborhood, and people have just kind of walk around on it with permission, and so I didn't think it was actually being used for ag purposes, but, okay, thank you.
And I have to assume that public service is all right with the road coming off of Catherine? Mm-hmm. Okay,
Yep.
yeah. Catherine?
Kathleen?
Okay. Okay, do I hear a motion for this parcel? Would I make a motion
What
for
are we-
approval?
Does this require
There's no approval, it was just to bring to our attention, isn't it?
I do want an approval. I do make a recommendation if we can just.
If that's the case, then can I ask a question?
Yeah.
The title of it says that this is northwest of the intersection. Isn't this northeast?
Oh, then my fault.
Okay, that was terrifying for me because I'm directionally terrible, so I was worried that I was also wrong. I was embarrassing myself, but okay.
Yeah, that is wrong. So.
Okay. Well, then I can, and does this have there's not a number in the packet. Do you just want us to approve, like?
Yeah, we can just approve, I have approval of ADR recommended Schulman property rural residential siting.
Okay, so moved for approval.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have an approval. Do I have a second?
Yep, we got George.
Okay, all those in favor indicated by saying aye.
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 Opposed, carried. Okay, Brad, I think you're up for talking to,
I think we can
All
either,
right.
we have to table it or move, I think.
Oh, we need to.
So we're going to make a motion?
are we going to table it?
No, recess? No, we're going to recess.
Okay.
He wants us to recess, so.
I'll move to recess and reconvene in the ceiling room.
I'll second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned for a short time.
You're there, Roger.
Okay, we'll reconvene. We are now on 5F, and we're looking for a discussion from Brad regarding our amendments to the Fitchburg Code.
Yep, so, just to remind everyone, this came at the last meeting. You all approved it with, I think, one change, to the language about the caretaker's residence in the small lot A. Plan Commission had some questions about, if you can see right here, actually, it's, this provision, which was in the original, this wasn't something added this round, this was in the original one, but they had a question that is kind of unclear that it says a second or subsequent single-family farm residence is allowed, and so they wanted clarity on what second or subsequent means, and so we revised the language a bit. I highlighted all the changes since you approved it at the last meeting in yellow, and I think I'll just go through those real quick. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Yeah, any questions right off the bat before I go over the minor changes from last time. So I guess I should back up a little bit. It was re-referred from Plan Commission back to Ag and Rural, so it's here for another approval to go back to Plan Commission, and then if Plan Commission approves it, would go to council for the final approval.
And they kicked it back to us for why?
Because they were unclear about this language about a subsequent single-family farm, and they wanted us to clarify the language so that it's clear what that all means, what the definition of a farm residence is, and what that subsequent provision is.
So what's in yellow is what you have proposed as
Yes.
a clarification.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if there aren't any kind of questions about the process, I'll just go right into that. So this is in the conditional use section of the AX exclusive agriculture zone that's shown here. So what I am proposing here to clarify that is remove the language about a subsequent single family farm residence. I agree that is unclear, so we keep the second in there, and then also clarify that because and I'll refer back to this when I talk about the definition that modifications that I'm proposing, but it does allow duplexes as well, so either single family farm residence or duplexes. So then added the language in yellow below that each base farm can have up to 2 units as farm residences. So if it's one duplex or two separate single family homes, that would meet that up to 2 units on a base farm. This last sentence highlighted here, if a farm residence is split off into its own parcel, it becomes a non-farm residence. That's always been the case, but I put it in the ordinance so it's clear, and it came out as a reminder in a conversation with our state contact at DATCAP about this, that he just reminded that it's no longer considered a farm, like that the common ownership has to remain there. It has to be commonly owned with the farm for it to be considered a farm residence. So I figured I'd put it in the ordinance so that it's explicit there. Any questions about that piece of it? And we can come back to that. It might make more sense once I overview the definition changes as well. So in small lot ag, this is the one I mentioned that Ag and Rural approved at the last meeting. Just clarifying the caretaker's residence language, so I removed caretakers there and removed operator here, just so it reads that one residence attached to the facilities and occupied by the caretaker of the facilities is allowed, and that's in the AS zoning district. And then finally,
Can that caretaker resident be standalone, or is it included in a
I
building?
believe it says it's attached.
Okay, so it's going to be,
Yeah.
it's going to be an apartment that might
It's
be
an
in
apartment.
a barn or a stable.
That's exactly what I'm doing, Roger.
Yeah.
Putting up a cleary building with a lean-to off of it with an apartment
Okay.
attached. So you can walk into the facility from the apartment and I can sleep at night.
Got it.
Maybe a couple hours.
And so the other piece of this that I'm proposing here to clarify that is, and because of the duplex and because of the allowance for a second single-family farm residence, it conflicted with the definition of a farm residence that was in our ordinance, because that definition stated that a single-family or duplex residence, that is the only residential structure on the farm. So that, again, that conflicted with the whole allowance for a subsequent or second single-family farm residence. So modified that to read, or I'm proposing to modify that to read, a farm residence is a single-family or duplex residence on a base farm tract that is occupied by any of the following, and the rest of that remains the same as what was approved last eliminates that only residential structure on the farm piece of it, and I believe it also makes it more clear because we added the base farm tract definition in there, that the number of residents or the farm residences are tied to the base farm tract. I think the language using the farm was a little unclear before too, just because it wasn't defined as to, is that a parcel or is that the base farm tract? So the claims are all based on base farm tract though, so I think this is consistent with that.
I just have a comment on all of this too. I feel like the ability for an owner to be able to offer some housing in lieu or in addition to pay with the farming income and ranching and all of that being, like, it requires us to have probably a second job in addition to the farm. So it kind of allows an owner the opportunity to have some help, which we obviously need, but we can provide a home or, place to stay. So not only do we have a reliable person on site 24/7 or, often, but now we can, maybe provide this housing. Because people have to live somewhere and it's expensive to live.
Right, I think that makes it more appropriate for rural landowners that have farm.
It's
because they have to go to town to pay for the
It's
operations.
really hard to pay somebody, $40 an hour when you're only, selling a full for X or whatever, but you have to have all this input or milk, the milk, so I think this is such a good thing that we're doing this because housing is a big deal for people.
Well, it's a big deal for dog sitters and cat sitters.
Yeah. I should clarify though that based on the changes that were adopted last time, the occupant of the second unit would have to be either an owner or operator of the farm or a parent or child of an owner or operator. Now, I don't believe we define what an operator is.
Sure.
Hired man.
Hired hand.
So if that,
I do think you need to add in there an employee involved in operations.
Somehow, kind of pick up what our words a little bit and see how that can be.
Operator of the farm scares me that it's too broad in that they are the operator of the farm.
Co-operator.
Yeah.
Or like.
Or
what's wrong with employee or
assistant
staff?
or something.
Staff.
And I guess it could.
Partnership would be going too far.
Well, yeah, and especially since
helper.
especially since counties use operator of a farm as those who are claiming the credits available for the farm.
I think the only way that we can handle this to be broader than either owner, operator, or parent or child is adding back in that individual who earns more than 50% of his or her gross income.
Roger hated
Because
it.
these are the.
Roger finally got what he wanted.
He finally did, but it's so applicable to this, Roger, because it kind of is like 50% house and 50%. I know.
No, keep 3 out of it.
Okay.
The county
Tax records.
Well,
Exactly.
that's so we can't be more.
Restrictive.
We can be more
We can,
restrictive.
okay.
We cannot be more liberal with what we allow in the AX zone than what the state allows. And doing anything other than these 3 occupancies is more liberal than what the state allows. So these are the 3 options for occupancy on a farm residence. And we removed the more than 50% of their income one, so we're left with the other 2. Really, the only way to have somebody that wouldn't be considered an owner or operator or parent or child of owner or operator would be the 50%
Somebody that's getting housing in exchange. Now we all of a sudden understood where that came from.
Yeah.
We all of a sudden understood it.
And of course, we still don't have a way to verify that or.
We didn't understand it till this minute, I don't think.
Yeah, but.
I didn't.
But we don't have a way to identify it. In the past, what I was concerned about was that you would have a standalone building.
Right.
To where 50% of the income had to come from that person in that standalone, and that was out of line. We are now saying that the dwelling that they're going to get 50%, have to show 50% of income, comes from a dwelling that is agriculturally related. In
They're
other words,
living there because they're working
okay.
on this farm.
And so, and also, the income, we're talking about, this is a substitute for additional income, is housing.
Yeah.
So under those circumstances, 50% might work. We got caught on it because it was a separate dwelling at 50%.
But I don't think this can be a separate dwelling, because as soon as it's
No,
off
it
the
can't.
farm,
It can't.
as
It
soon
can
as,
be.
It can be if it's commonly owned with the farm. If it's the
but it
second.
has to be on the farm, and as soon as it's parceled off, it's out.
Yeah.
So
If
it's
it gets
gotta be
parceled
there.
off, you have to use a claim. So.
But it would have to essentially be there under this criteria.
You don't have to use a claim because it's already existing.
Yeah.
It had already been created to create something, to build something new.
Well, if you split an existing home off of the farm, I believe you would have to use a claim because that would then allow you to build a new farm residence on the farm.
Because
Yeah,
what
but
would
you're
stop
not-
someone
you're
from just
not doing-
what would stop someone from just continuously building houses and splitting
off
them
a house,
off?
right.
Yeah,
So,
something's
but
gotta stop that.
a way that maybe this could work is if we put that individual who earns more than 50% of her income back in, but only for the second unit. So if it's a duplex, it's
Yeah.
like the second unit,
For the
or
second
if it's
unit.
so that would not be an allowed occupancy situation for the primary unit, but if it's the second single family home or the other unit in a duplex, it can have maybe all three of those.
It's almost,
Can we not allow it to be split from the base farm?
Yeah, that's what I'm
Why-
trying.
why-
Not in this zoning district.
It could be standalone?
If
If it was created under this zoning district, it is ineligible for a land division.
is that possible?
it could be divided, but I think you'd have to use a claim. Because if,
Right. Yeah,
Well, then in that case, it's out.
I mean,
Right.
but that's the same as any other development.
Right.
Then, so I think that's
How do you prevent
appropriate
that from
to add
happening?
in.
They only have 2 claims, maximum. So that's how you would prevent that from happening, right, Micah?
That's what I would assume, yeah.
right, so
So you gotta use them split it out, then yeah.
So they wouldn't be able to do
Or
5
buy it.
and keep doing this over and over, because the maximum anybody's got is
and
2.
then that's why the claim system is there.
Except for those which have been horse traded.
Horse trading?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could do that, you could do that. You could, right, you can sell a claim.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
So the one question I would have with that too, though, is I don't know that like letting someone live rent-free is income,
Right,
and
Yeah.
it's not
so
income.
it, like, they may not make 50% of their income in
Yeah.
that case, if a huge chunk of what they're being provided is housing.
Right.
It's not income, you're right.
So if we strike it out the way you've got it right there, where it's striked out,
I
why
think-
won't that work?
I think we're just worried about making sure that a assistant to the farm can live in this thing.
It's up to, this does work as it is. It's up to you all if you feel like this is a little bit too restrictive.
Is staff,
I look
owner
at,
operator, or staff,
Why is-
hired hand?
Yeah, why
Is hired
is that?
hand
Cause
language?
that would make it more lenient than state
Yeah.
statute.
More
We can't-
lenient,
yeah,
It can be more
okay,
lenient,
Yeah,
okay.
we can't change owner or operator.
How about if you define it as an owner or operator who is an employee? You're,
I'm not
clarifying.
comfortable changing the language
Right.
from the state,
I get that.
from the
we
state
can't give
requirements.
owner a
that.
definition.
I can look
I
into
don't like the idea of
defining the
police.
owner. I think
No way to
we would have
police
to
it.
define it
I love the idea
consistent
of
with the
it.
state,
That's what
if
we
they
got.
define owner operator.
Extra,
I could look into that.
you know,
I would think it's not capitalized, so I don't expect that there's a definition for operator.
Yeah.
Other than its plain meaning.
so are we in agreement to leave it the way it is?
I don't want anything to do with adding that 50% back in.
Oh,
I mean,
Roger
it's
hates it.
unenforceable, it's illegitimate, there's not even a scenario where a person makes 50%.
Changes on the farm
agree.
operation
I
to
think,
where that caretaker isn't needed and he goes to town to work. Then then what do you do?
Then the house is becoming a rental
Yeah,
income
then-
situation and they don't qualify
That's-
anymore, but now you've got a house constructed.
Right. That's the only thing I would see in it, with the state.
we'll just leave it the way it is.
Throw a red flag.
He's got a new problem. Yeah, I think leaving it the way it is best unless you can qualify operator. To me, my
follow the
understanding of the
state's.
state's definition of operator is gonna be equivalent to an owner. It'd be the owner or the renter.
I looked it up, I mean, this is just me searching quick, but it's essentially they have to have a management role, it says, like, yeah.
Okay, some sort of management
Yeah,
role.
so it can't just be like but it can't just be like a hired.
Not a high,
You
not a
can't hire
college
a
kid.
manager. Well, you can't hire a professional and call them the operator. The operator is he or she who is like, if I
Says
rent somebody else's farm, I'm the operator of their farm.
Primary day-to-day decisions on the farm.
That's right.
Yeah.
Involved in daily activities of the farm.
You're the foreman.
Which is arguably true.
It is,
But
it is. I just hope whoever uses this, uses it for the right reasons and doesn't create, I mean, who would want a rental property on their farm that wasn't an assistant to the farm? I just can't fathom anybody wanting that.
I mean, this has been allowed in our ordinance for
Forever?
a decade or more, and as far as I know, it hasn't been
Abused
utilized.
or.
I know.
So
You mean the 50%?
the ability to have like a second.
We've witnessed it be used in the last 6 months for
That was
primary
a
residents.
homestead?
For primary.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, it
Casimian
preserves
is
the
doing it right now.
farmland.
Casimian's
That's our
doing it right
objective
now.
here,
Yeah.
is-
They got an apartment in there, in his barn.
Well, you know that's what I'm doing on mine.
But this change makes it legal. But they'd had a farm operator, a person to take care of the horses living right on the property, which was not legal until now.
Oh.
In the AS, yeah, that's an.
Well, historically, it goes back.
But
to-
anyway, so
The purpose that it's being used for in Amy's example and Siemens' example is exactly what we want.
Yes.
What we don't
And
want
what
is
we
somebody
need
building
as-
a
Right, to
primary
preserve
residence.
ag land and.
Yeah,
farm,
and we need the
that's-
help, I mean, so desperately.
Okay, let's make a decision here.
No, that we're done here.
I mean, we're all
I
over
think
the
this
place here.
is good.
Yeah, we just leave it how this is.
I did, just leave it the way it is up there right now. Everybody agree to
I think
that?
everyone liked that, the planning
Okay.
commission suggested
Okay.
it.
Sounds good.
Leave it there.
Okay, I'll make a motion.
Oh, well, we take a motion for the whole bit, or do you want?
Yeah, so since the whole thing got re-referred, you would do a motion to approve this ordinance.
The whole thing.
As it's proposed.
Is this the last one?
No, now it goes back.
Yes, that was the last, yeah,
Okay,
so the changes
now
were
we
pretty
can-
minimal.
Now we
yeah.
can make a motion, to approve the ordinance 2026-008.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
A second. Any further discussion?
The only question I have is now this goes back to the planning commission?
Yes.
And then to the
Yeah.
council?
Yeah,
In like 45, it's
yeah,
literally
it's
going
going
right now.
over there.
Oh, perfect timing.
Yeah,
So we gotta run down the hall.
Okay,
more or less.
Yeah, basically.
we'll have a
Okay.
vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Approved.
Passes.
Passes.
And
Okay, next thing on the agenda is a staff memo. Do you have anything from the staff?
I don't, I'm not sure if Deanna did or not, so we'll have to just, I don't have anything, so if
She
she
just
has
said
something,
that
she can email.
email, if she has something to share.
Report of the department, nothing.
Nothing.
Okay. Any announcements at all, anything that we know of that we want to share here, going on in District 4?
Actually,
No, I don't have anything.
yes.
Oh, you got something.
Joe Maldonado reached out to me about coordinating a combined Bike and Ped Commission and Ag and Rural Affairs bike tour of to include farm operations. So anybody willing to say hi at their front gate, maybe poke around, show around a farm. work with Joe to get more of an understanding what he's looking for in this, but I believe it's.
Yeah, so
That's Micah's.
no one probably remembers this, but I mentioned
remember.
this like last fall
Yeah, you sent
as
the
like an
email.
option, bike and ped approached me, and then winter occurred. So Deanna actually back then sent me the last time we did this.
Mhm.
Like she had some information, so I can forward it to you and we can
Okay.
all, you and I and Joe can get together and figure out. But yeah, there is a route they did last time and there's some information on all of it, so we should have a starting point.
Okay.
We did, I was pretty much, I was involved in that, quite a bit in that. And I tell you, it was something, we had it 2 years in a row, and I think we had, it grew. And we had close to 30 people.
30 bikes?
Yeah,
Okay, I was wondering.
there's, if you take the bike trail from here and go down to the Fitchburg, old Fitchburg, there's about 4 stops there. And that's in this.
Yeah, I'm sure I have it.
And we had the farm operators come out talking. It was good. I think you spent some time talking at that too, so. Okay, so you're gonna handle that or work with that?
I'll work with Joe on that, yeah.
Okay.
The things that popped in my head were, if we can get MG&E to demo the solar field while the sheep are grazing and see that agrivoltaics in action, that'd be really cool. They're a little bit,
Oh, it would be an education thing.
yeah, they're a little bit, I don't know how to say that, nervous about letting public into a high voltage facility.
Oh, sure.
Well,
You can watch from outside.
You can stop along the trail.
We
Don't go
can,
in.
there's no, so it's bikes at the road, you mean you're
Yeah.
not gonna take bikes up to it. It's, you'd have all 30 bikes with 30 flat tires.
Yeah, no, it's a liability.
But the sheep are pretty cool to see and be around. I do think that they will allow a tour, they have for this group. Nobody came, but many folks from Fitchburg staff did.
Are the sheep on the O'Brien farm?
No, I don't
So
think
where are
they're
they gonna be?
at Strix on Burn Road.
Oh, okay, oh,
Is that
okay.
yours?
So I don't, what's that?
Is that your farm?
Mhm.
Okay.
I don't know that that's where the old route went.
No, it didn't. It
But
didn't.
maybe.
No, it's more on
It
Badger
just-
State
it's-
Development.
It follows the bike trail over here along Seminole. And then on down.
We can change the route a little bit
Yeah, you can see.
if you want.
Depending on, because there's contacts in here for who was, came out and met people and who knows who's still available or not. So yeah, we can update this and, yeah.
Okay,
Something good.
anything else? Any other things we need to bring up? Okay, I guess we will ask for adjournment. Somebody make a
Make a
motion.
motion to adjourn.
Okay, and second? All those in favor? We're out of here.
Aye.
Hi.
We gotta get the I in.
Oh,
I initial motion.
I got
for
it.
I think George made the motion. I seconded it.
Okay.
I think
George is a
You
second.
just fill my name.
it doesn't matter. It's really, we can't even remember.
We're adjourned.